I was feeling a lot more stressed, a lot more exhausted, and I just wanted to eat. And I did eat. It wasn't going over the calorie maintenance that was the issue for me. It was that I ate the brownie just to feel better. And I didn't feel any better. I still felt terrible. Hi everyone, my name is Mima. I used to be obese. I lost all of the weight through a combination of GLP-1 medication, a whole foods diet, and weightlifting. I am now an endurance cyclist training for Unbound Gravel 100 miles in Emporia, Kansas next month in May, and I have been off of GLP-1 medication for almost half a year now. If you want realistic structure for fat loss, maintenance, and training for strength and longevity, or training like an athlete on or off of GLP-1 medication, then you're in the right place. I know. It's been a hot minute since I last uploaded, so I apologize. I truly apologize for being MIA. The last half of February and the entire month of March has been incredibly challenging for me. It kind of was like alternating between being pretty amazing with all of the trips that I have had in the last weeks and also sucking ass because of all the trips that I have had in the last few weeks. So after London, I've had 2 other international trips back to back. And I know. I still owe you guys a vlog for that. And I'm just going to say that vlogs are very time consuming to edit. And because of all of the traveling that I've done, I haven't really had the time to edit, to be quite honest. And I also got into a car accident a couple of weeks ago, which was incredibly disruptive to kind of like my plans, both travel and just, being at home. And especially when you're not at fault, I wasn't at fault. It was like a 4-car pileup. It was a 4-car pileup. Sorry, I can't even talk. Feels like ages since I've been in front of a camera. So it was a 4-car pileup and I wasn't at fault, but my car was the one that sustained the most damage. Thankfully, I am okay. I had no issues, no physical issues, and no one else was hurt, thankfully. So it was just a very disruptive and destructive thing to have happened. So it was quite a blow. Literally and figuratively, especially for me. On top of all of that, I experienced a really big disappointment in last month. I took on some responsibility that I had never taken on before. And unfortunately, the events did not turn out the way that I'd hoped they would. And of course, we talked about this, there was going to be a big chance that the events wouldn't turn out the way that we had hoped, because that's life. That's what happens, right? You put yourself forward out there, you take a risk, and sometimes it doesn't work out. But because the events had happened after all of these long weeks of international travel, and then I had to do domestic travel for these events, them not working out, it became a huge blow to me personally, because I was already at the end of my rope. If you were just so incredibly stressed and tired and exhausted from everything that I had been doing the weeks preceding that, and so to not have the events turn out the way that we had hoped, I had specifically hoped, it was incredibly disappointing, and I saw it as me failing. And no matter how low the risk was for these events, for a person like me, it was a really hard pill to swallow. And then right after those disappointments for me, I had to go on another work trip, which was also pretty stressful. So it was kind of one stressor after another, which made this incredibly terrible environment for me, just around me. So why am I sharing this story that does not seem to be relevant to the goals of this channel? Why am I sharing this with all of you guys? Because this has really affected my relationship with food this last month and a half. It's not really showing up on a big way on the scale. It's pretty similar to what happened when we were on the holidays in Southeast Asia in December last year. I saw my highest at like 129 right after my last work trip, which was last week. But every day the scale has been going down. So it's going to be trending down as I just like continue with my normal life, normal food, normal routines, normal habits. But when I was sort of like in the thick of all that, I felt it both physically and mentally. I felt my systems like started to break little by little the longer away from home I was. And to be fair, I do say a lot on this channel that I travel so much for work, and that is true. I have so many videos already of me traveling for work and managing the travel, maintaining my habits and my systems, but honestly, just for this quarter alone, like the first quarter of 2026, January to March, has been the most I have traveled in a short span of time in my entire career. 12 flights in 3 countries in the span of 4 weeks, plus 2 domestic trips, and very little turnaround time between those trips. It was basically just enough time for me to do my laundry and refill all of like my little travel size toiletries, and doing all of that while having to perform like at your best. Not even physically, like not just even physically, but also mentally, because of what my job is. And then to top it all off, in the middle of all of that, in the middle of your trips, you are going to get into a car accident. Like you get into a car accident because someone was being really stupid on the road. So it's just been so overwhelming, to say the least. And I've noticed like myself turning more and more to the terrible coping mechanisms that got me to being class 1 obese. I honestly generally did very, very well in London, and you'll see that in my vlog whenever I'm able to finish it. And I also did really well in my second trip after London. I met my movement minimums. I ate really healthy, primarily whole foods. But it was really during my third trip when things started becoming a little tougher. I was still meeting my movement minimums. I was going to the gym. I was averaging 12,000 steps a day, but I snacked more. I didn't actively go out to get snacky food at the store, but for most of the time at the venue where I was, the snacks were just in the open, like just open table the entire day, available. And there were times like I kept going back to the snacks to pick up one snack here, and then a couple hours later I'll pick up another snack there, and of course we would have our meals. And after that trip, when I was at home and getting ready to travel for these events that I have just, shared with you guys, that was incredibly disappointing to me personally, I was feeling a lot more stressed, a lot more exhausted, and I just wanted to eat. And I did eat. I didn't hinge eat, and I'm sorry I can't say the actual word that starts with the letter B because YouTube does not like it. But like in between my last trip and my trips for the events that I was going to, I ate like a protein brownie and went over my calorie maintenance just to feel better. Like it wasn't going over the calorie maintenance that was the issue for me. It was that I ate the brownie just to feel better, which again, is a terrible coping mechanism in how I got to class 1 obese in the first place. And so I go on my trip to these events, and after the first event and that event didn't pan out, I had such a heavy feeling that on my walk back to my hotel from the event, I stopped by a cookie place to get a giant cookie. Again, it's not a hinge. The actual word starts with a B. I hope you guys understand what it is. It was not a hinge eat, and it was only like one cookie. But I still turned to food to make myself feel better. And I didn't feel any better after starting to eat that cookie. I still felt terrible. And the cookie wasn't even like amazingly good. Before I turned to the block where my hotel was, I tossed it out. I didn't even finish the cookie. And then on my last trip, this was my last work trip that I had just returned from, there was just so many desserts available during lunch and dinner because it was like a buffet style. All care for me basically went out the window. And to be fair, I averaged 20,000 steps last week, because of how large our venue was for this work trip. And I still lifted. There was a pretty good gym at the venue. And I rode over 50 miles that week. So I did have a lot of movement. I did have a lot of activity, but still there was like less balance, less mindfulness than what I usually practice here at home on my day-to-day when I'm, in a better headspace. So what is my point in all of this and sharing with you guys all of this? My point is that this is real life. This is my real life, and real life doesn't really pause for your weight loss journey or for maintaining your weight loss. People always talk about setbacks like they're a character flaw. If you had just been like more disciplined, more prepared, more, more something, like none of this would have happened. But I really, really want to push back on that, because 12 flights, 3 countries, 4-5 weeks, a car accident that wasn't my fault, and a risk that I just was personally invested in and it didn't pay off. And I don't see that as a discipline problem. I still see myself as an incredibly disciplined person. It was just an incredibly overwhelming environment, more than the usual like overwhelm, if that is even a word, that I feel during like these types of situations. And with just how overwhelming it was, like no amount of habit building just like fully insulated me from it. And no amount of habit building will insulate you from your kind of incredibly overwhelming environment, whatever that looks like for you. But to me, what really matters, I think, especially to me, is like what I notice and what I do with what I noticed. And with all of this, here is what I noticed. The first thing I noticed, and I think this is incredibly important to say out loud and to really emphasize, is that my old coping mechanisms, they don't really actually work. I told you about the cookie that I ate after the first event didn't pan out the way that I hoped, and how I didn't even finish the cookie. I tossed it out. I didn't even think it was that good, and I didn't even feel a modicum of like better after having a bite of the cookie. The food didn't really fix anything. It just gave me something to do with the feeling, or to not feel the feeling, because I have something to do for about like 30 seconds. That's really it. Like 30 seconds of distraction, and the feeling was still there. Plus now I felt guilt for eating a cookie that wasn't even worth it. And the thing is, like, I have always known this. Like, I have always known this intellectually. We processed that during the start of my journey with GLP-1 medication, with a weight management program that I had joined then. I'm still in it, by the way. I'm just not going as frequently and seeing my doctor, because we had gotten to a point where I am an athlete, maintaining my 65-pound weight loss and no longer on GLP-1 medication. But anyway, that is to say, I've always known it because we had processed it with a psychiatrist who is on my team. But I guess looking at it from a glass half full kind of perspective, I am glad to have been reminded of it, because there is a difference between knowing that and having processed that with someone almost a year or so ago, no, more than a year ago now, and being reminded of it physically and like experientially to you, like just from the inside of you, just experiencing it again. The second thing that I noticed is that this disruption compounds. The first trip, London, I was fine. The second trip, I was still fine. By the third trip, that's when the cracks actually started to show. Not dramatically, not all at once, just a little more snacking here, a little more snacking there, a little less intentional, less balanced. And by the time I hit the events that didn't pan out, my system was already running on fumes. I did not fall apart in one moment. It was just gradual. It was a gradual erosion. And to me, that's actually more insidious, because there is really no single point where you say, okay, this is the point where everything went wrong. It just like quietly drifts, like slowly drifts. And then you just realize you've drifted so far away. And the third thing, and this is the one that I actually keep coming back to, and I am now sort of like working on again with my therapist and my psychiatrist, is that I need better tools for acute emotional distress. I have a really solid, really strong infrastructure for my normal life, meal prep, movement, sleep, all of that stuff. But when something genuinely hits me, like a failure, a blow to my self-esteem, that heavy feeling that I had been feeling when I was walking back to my hotel and picked up that cookie, I am still reaching for food as a first response. Not as a last resort, as a first one. And that is the work that I now have to do. That is what's next for me. It's not really about more discipline around food. It is about building more capacity to sit in discomfort, to sit in heavy feelings without immediately trying to fix it with something in my mouth. And the reason I decided to make this video and share this with all of you is not just a sort of like update and to let you guys know that I'm alive. Sorry, I've been out for a while, but I think it's because a lot of you are doing the same thing, probably. And you have probably been told that GLP-1 medication is supposed to take care of that. That the food noise when you take that injection or when you take the pill, now that it's available, it just goes away. And so does emotional eating. For some people, that may be the case. For a lot of people though, and I would bet that for a good chunk, a majority maybe of people, the behavior is still there underneath that thin layer of GLP-1 medication. The medication quiets that. But if you don't work on why you turn to food, what it's medicating, what it's managing, then the moment the medication isn't doing that job anymore, whether because you stopped taking the medication for one reason or another, or the medication just loses its efficacy because you've been on it for so long, then the behavior comes back. I am living proof of that. And I'm telling you all of this, I'm sharing all of this, documenting all of this, as I said I would, because it's still early, and while I'm still in it, I think it is more useful to share with you this journey than to show up as like this polished person on the other side, pretending like all of that was very easy. So here is where I am today. The scale is moving back down. My training is back on track. I am still training for Unbound, and nothing about the last few weeks changes that. I am still planning on finishing 100 miles in Kansas next month. The London vlog is still coming. I have not abandoned it. It's just taking more time to edit. I am so sorry, guys. There's so many clips. But more importantly, I have more information about myself than I did a month ago. I know where my edges are. I know what combination of stressors breaks down my systems. I know that a cookie at the end of a bad day doesn't make me feel better, even if my brain is convinced that it will. And to me, that is not nothing. To me, that lesson, that experience is invaluable. It's a lot. It's so much to work with. So if you have had your own version of the last few weeks that I have had, whatever it looks like for you, I hope this video makes you feel a little less alone. Setbacks are not the end of your story. They're not the end of your weight loss journey or your maintenance journey. They are data. Take note of them, look at them carefully, and use them. Again, growth and comfort do not coexist, especially on a journey like this. Because on a journey where we want to be the best physical and mental, emotional, spiritual version of ourselves, I think that means being deeply uncomfortable sometimes. Being deeply uncomfortable with your circumstances, with yourself, and choosing to keep going anyway. If you have made it to the end of this video, thank you so much. Like, genuinely, thank you so much. This was not an easy video to make. I kind of thought about it so many times, thought about like what video I'd be making after being away for quite a while, but I think this video was worth doing. I think what I shared with you guys was worth saying. So if you did find this video helpful, please do hit the like button. It really, really does help people find this kind of content and build the kind of community that we want, supporting each other on our GLP-1 journeys, whether that means your journey will have an end because you're planning to get off the medication or you will be taking the medication for life. And if you want more honest, no fluff videos about building real habits on or off of GLP-1 medication, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. I am also on Instagram. My handle is right here below. Come find me there for day-to-day stuff, what I'm eating, how my training is going, and all of the things that kind of like don't make it to videos like this. And if you are on a GLP-1 journey and you're looking for more support and a community, drop a comment, let us know how you're doing, or just a flex emoji down below in the comment box. I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, happy riding.